This video is about drug addiction. It's about the people who sell drugs and the people who suffer from drug addiction. We will focus on the most dangerous drug. The one that kills more people than all other drugs combined. Nicotine. Nicotine is a drug that people use like a tranquilizer to calm themselves down when they're nervous. Because nicotine is an extremely addictive drug, people who try it quickly discover that they start to feel bad when they don't have nicotine in their blood. There are many ways that a person can get nicotine into their blood. Like marijuana and crack, tobacco can be smoked. Or, like cocaine, tobacco can be sniffed in the form of a powder called snuff. Nicotine can be absorbed through the skin if a wad of tobacco is held in the mouth. Nicotine can also be given directly into a vein, like heroin. From the blood, nicotine enters the brain, where it causes addiction. Unfortunately, for the people who become addicted to nicotine, tobacco is a poisonous plant. It contains radioactivity and over 4,000 different chemicals. When people use tobacco, they are exposed to these dangerous chemicals, puff after puff, chew after chew, year after year. These chemicals destroy their bodies, slowly but surely. Tobacco kills 1,000 Americans every day. In fact, more Americans have been killed by tobacco than have been killed in all the wars ever fought by the United States. That includes the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, the Mexican-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the war in Vietnam. There are 3 reasons why tobacco kills so many people. First, it is extremely addictive. Second, it is poisonous. And third, it is legal. Because tobacco is legal, it addicts more people and kills more people than all other drugs combined. But because tobacco is legal, the tobacco companies can't be arrested like the people who sell other drugs. And because tobacco is legal, we have ideas about tobacco that just don't make any sense when we compare them to our ideas about other drugs. Imagine if an alien came to Earth from another planet to study us. It would certainly think that we had some very peculiar ideas about tobacco. The alien would understand why we think heroin is dangerous. But if it learned that tobacco kills about 100 times more people than heroin does, it would think it strange that some Earthlings think that tobacco isn't very dangerous. The alien would understand why we make it against the law to use heroin, but it would think it's strange that we let anybody use tobacco, even children. If the alien read the Surgeon General's report on nicotine addiction, it would learn that people who use tobacco are just as addicted as people who use heroin. But then the alien would think it is very strange that many Earthlings still believe that tobacco isn't a drug. Finally, if our alien visitor learned that smoking kills 2.5 million Earthlings every year, it would think that it's very strange that we try to get people addicted to tobacco. By now, the alien might think that Earthlings had been brainwashed by the people who sell tobacco. And if it compared how we think about the people who sell tobacco and the people who sell other drugs, it would know for certain that something was wrong with the way we think about tobacco. We call people who sell drugs like heroin and cocaine drug pushers. Most people think that drug pushers are bad because they sell drugs that are addictive and deadly. But what about the tobacco companies? They sell a drug that's addictive and deadly. Their drug kills 1,000 people every day. Why don't we call them drug pushers? Drug pushers don't care that their drugs kill people. Do the tobacco companies care that their drug kills people? Drug pushers are evil because they give people free samples to get them addicted. The tobacco companies spend over $100 million every year giving out free samples of their drug. Are they trying to get people addicted? The drug pusher knows that once a person is addicted, they will have to keep coming back for more, and the drug pusher will get rich. The tobacco companies know that as long as a person is addicted to tobacco, they will keep coming back for more, and the tobacco companies will get richer. The tobacco companies and the drug pushers have a lot in common.
The person who sells drugs, heroin, cocaine, they're selling drugs just to make money, and they don't care that they're hurting other people. And that's evil. The tobacco companies are doing the same thing. They're selling a drug to make money. They know that a lot of people are going to be badly hurt or killed as a result. They don't care as long as they make their money. But they're worse than the drug pushers because they use all of their advertising to lie about their product, to fool people into thinking that they can smoke without being harmed by it. And that's evil.
Tobacco companies have a problem, which is that every day they lose 5,000 customers. 4,000 quit and 1,000 die from smoking-caused diseases. They have to replace these customers, but they can't do it with adults because adults don't start smoking. They know better. So the only people they're left with are kids, and that's why they have to go after kids.
The tobacco companies have to recruit children to smoke to replace the adults because the adults are dying off at 1,000 a day, so they have to recruit children to smoke to take the place of those that die off, or else their company goes out of business.
In order to stay in business, tobacco companies have to get children addicted to a drug that will probably kill them. Why don't they try to get adults addicted?
Adults don't start to smoke because they know better. Children are the ones who start to smoke.
Few people realize that almost all the adults they see smoking became addicted to nicotine when they were children. Because so many people believe that the tobacco companies are trying to addict children to tobacco, one company ran this ad, claiming that they don't advertise to children.
The cigarette companies say they don't want kids to smoke. They aren't trying to influence kids to smoke. But that's a lie. Look at where they put their advertisements. I read a lot of business magazines. There's no cigarette advertising in business magazines. Teenagers, on the other hand, read a lot of sports and entertainment magazines. There are a lot of cigarette advertisements in those magazines. A lot of kids' movies have cigarette advertising in them too. Movies like Superman, a lot of Walt Disney movies. You think that those are there because of an accident? They're there because the cigarette companies want the people who watch those movies to think smoking's a pretty neat thing to do. And that's a lie.
Everywhere you look, there are advertisements for cigarettes. The ads are designed to make us think that smoking is cool. By being exposed to this same message over and over, we can become brainwashed into believing what the tobacco companies want us to believe. When you think of smoking, do you think of the epidemic of lung cancer that it is causing? Or do you think it's something cool and sexy? The purpose of cigarette advertising is to get you to think that smoking is cool and sexy, and to get you to forget that what they are really selling is a deadly disease. Before we look at how the tobacco companies design their ads, try to imagine how you would design an honest ad for cigarettes, one that told the truth about smoking. You might want to tell people that smoking ruins your sense of taste and your sense of smell. You could say, if you want a stink, smoke Virginia Slims. Or how about, if you want yellow teeth, smoke Camels. An honest ad would tell people about the poisonous chemicals in cigarettes. Or you might want to warn people that smoking is expensive. The tobacco companies never tell the truth in their ads. Their ads are carefully designed to hide the truth about tobacco. Cigarette ads are designed to make you forget that most people smoke because they are addicted to tobacco. They want you to think that the only reason people smoke is because they enjoy it. They don't tell you that smoking will hurt you. They want you to think that you can smoke and be a great athlete. Cigarette ads don't tell you that smoking will make your hair stink and give you bad breath. They want you to think that smoking will make you more popular. And cigarette ads don't tell you that smoking is an expensive addiction. They want you to think that smoking is going to make you rich and successful. Cigarette ads are designed to hide the truth about smoking and at the same time get people to believe that smoking is cool. They want us to believe that if you're a girl, smoking will make you slim and sexy. But if you're a boy, smoking will make you tough and macho. The amazing thing is that people obviously believe it.
All advertising really that uses people in it is basically saying to the people who see the ads, if you want to be like the person in the ad, use this product.
Tobacco companies use many tricks to get people to smoke.
A natural part of growing up is rebelling against your parents. Every teenager's got to go through a period where they do things that their parents don't like as part of gaining independence. Kids wear clothes their parents don't like. They cut their hair in a way their parents aren't going to like it. And tobacco companies know this, and they use their advertising to get kids to think a good way to rebel against your parents is to smoke cigarettes.
It seems that it's really obvious that the tobacco companies are out to recruit children to be their new smokers, and they do this in different ways for girls or for boys. For girls, it's clear that they want to make smoking a cigarette be something that's really sexy and attractive, something that thin women do and that popular girls might do.
The three most important psychological characteristics of adolescent girls are the need to be independent from their parents, to be accepted by their friends, and to have a positive image of their own bodies. Cigarette company advertisements go after these adolescent girls by trying to make smoking appear to be something that gives you independence, that will make you popular with your friends, and above all, that will keep you slim.
Well, to appeal to girls, the themes are slim, slim, slim.
Tobacco ads that appeal to girls emphasize that the girl can be sexy, sophisticated, successful, and have many boyfriends while they smoke. And you know that's a lie because it makes them stink and rots their teeth.
The tobacco companies use a different strategy to convince boys that smoking is cool.
Cigarette company advertising goes after teenage boys with images of risk-taking and rebellion. These are the things that teenagers are interested in. That's why you see in cigarette ads so many motorcycles and race cars and hang gliders, because teenage boys really aspire to those kind of things. Cigarette companies are going after teenage boys with these images of danger and rebelliousness and trying to make them think by smoking the right cigarette, you can look like the guy on that motorcycle.
By associating smoking with doing daring things, the tobacco companies want boys to think that smoking is a brave and daring thing to do. Another tobacco company strategy for attracting boys is to convince them that they can smoke and be good athletes at the same time.
A couple of years ago, the tobacco industry asked some professional researchers this question: what causes teenage boys to not smoke? The number one answer: they're afraid it will hurt their athletic ability. And there's a very good reason for that, and that is that smoking does hurt athletic ability. And that's why the tobacco companies have all of these deceptive ads trying to make you think that smoking is compatible with athletic achievement. And in fact, it's not.
There are two other strategies that tobacco companies use to convince both boys and girls that smoking is cool. The promise that smoking will make you more popular with the opposite sex, and the promise that smoking will make you look like an adult.
A major purpose of cigarette campaigns, and you'll notice it probably in most cigarette ads, is the theme that if you smoke, you'll be more attractive to the opposite sex.
There have been a number of studies in which people ask kids, what do you not like about a date? And almost always the number one answer is somebody who smokes. They smell bad, their teeth are yellow, it hurts my lungs when I sit with them and they smoke. And that's why the tobacco companies have to go out of their way in their ads to make you think that if you smoke, you're going to be popular with the girls or the boys. But that's not true. Like most cigarette company advertisements, it's a lie.
By linking smoking with drinking alcohol, tobacco companies can get kids to think that smoking will make them more grown up. Of course, in reality, smoking, like sucking your thumb, is a habit that people start when they are children. It has nothing to do with being an adult.
It seems that one of the messages that advertisements for cigarettes really try hard to get across is the whole idea of being an adult.
The one time the tobacco industry tells kids not to smoke, and they will do it only in the context of saying, kids, don't smoke, it's an adult custom, it's an adult choice, you're too young to do it. Of course, this is the perfect way to sell cigarettes to children. Brilliant strategy on the part of the tobacco companies.
In order to stay in business, tobacco companies have to recruit thousands of new smokers every day. Because adults don't start to smoke, the tobacco companies have to try to get children addicted to nicotine. Cigarette advertisements lie about tobacco and make children think that smoking is cool.
The reason why I started was because my best friend started smoking, and it seemed like a cool thing to do at the time, but I found out it wasn't.
Every day, between 4,000 and 5,000 children become addicted to nicotine. As long as children believe that smoking is cool, there will be plenty of new victims for the tobacco pushers. The tobacco companies want kids to think that smoking is a sign of courage. But the truth is that most of the kids who smoke because they're afraid. They're scared that other kids won't like them if they don't smoke.
I think other kids start smoking to fit in, basically. I think they feel it's a cool thing to do, all the cool kids are doing it. They're going to think I'm a loser if I say no to them.
One major anxiety of children and adolescents in particular is belonging to the group. They get the idea incorrectly that most people smoke, and then they think they have to smoke in order to belong.
If you hang around kids who already are smoking, who, I don't know what you'd say, have the tendency to smoke, then I think you're in a tough situation where either you're going to say, no, I'm not going to smoke, or you're going to go ahead with the crowd and say, I'm going to smoke. And I think that's what happens. Most people tend to go with the crowd. They don't want to go against the crowd.
I don't even know why I started smoking. I guess just to fit in with the crowd, I guess.
Kids don't smoke because they're brave. They smoke because they're afraid other kids won't like them if they don't smoke.
The main reason, I think, is to fit into a crowd. I think maybe they feel insecure or something like that. They don't feel good about themselves. They need something to try, feel part of a group.
If kids don't feel good about themselves, either because they're having trouble in school or because they're having problems with their family, they're more likely to smoke because they think it will impress other kids. But of course it doesn't.
The more trouble a child has in school, the more likely it is that he or she will smoke. For instance, only 7% of high school seniors with an A average smoke, but 47% of D students smoke.
One reason children smoke is to rebel against what their parents have been telling them. So that a child who's having any kind of difficulties with rules and regulations is likely to start smoking just to express his rebellion and to go against his parents, even though in the long run he or she is the one who's being hurt the most.
75% of children who drop out of school smoke. Approximately 85% of drug addicts and alcoholics are smokers. And 95% of the teenagers who are in jail smoke. The most common reasons for kids to try smoking are that they are insecure or they're looking for trouble. But how do they get addicted to tobacco once they try it?
Kids who try smoking don't want to become addicted, and most of them don't want to become regular smokers. And yet every one of them thinks that they can be that one person in 1,000 who can smoke without becoming addicted. But they're wrong.
For most children, smoking one cigarette is enough to satisfy their curiosity.
Yeah, I tried smoking and it was gross. I went home and I threw up. It was the worst thing I've ever done.
But if a child smokes just 4 cigarettes, 9 times out of 10 that child will become addicted to nicotine. The first sign of nicotine addiction is an urge to smoke.
Urges, they're tough to deal with. Smoking, when I first started smoking, it was just like wanting to smoke, and then it turned into needing to smoke.
I have to have a cigarette. It's there. It's a need that I have to have a cigarette.
Becoming addicted to nicotine is like stepping in quicksand. By the time you discover you're caught, it may be too late to get out.
Smoking is a problem. The best thing to do is not to ever get started, because once you get started and you're past the point of wanting a cigarette and you need cigarettes, you're addicted. There's nothing you can do about it.
I got addicted when I was like in maybe the 7th grade. Me and a friend would like just trying the cigarettes. And then after a while, I just couldn't stop smoking them.
It's just like anything else. You think you can stop whenever you want to. I'm just not in control of it anymore.
It was just like a thing you weren't supposed to do, but you went ahead and did it anyway. Like your parents tell you, don't do that, you'll go and do it. It was the thing. It was like in junior high school. And then after that, I was just addicted to it. I couldn't stop.
It's a myth that you have to smoke a lot to get addicted. Kids become addicted when they're smoking only a few cigarettes a day.
I don't smoke that much. I smoke maybe 1 or 2 cigarettes a day, if that, when I can afford it. So I try not to smoke it at all, and when I have to, I don't try to smoke 2, I just try to smoke 1.
Another sign of drug addiction is that as time goes by, a person needs more and more of the drug.
I started smoking more and more and more, and then all of a sudden I wanted to buy my own pack of cigarettes.
I started smoking, and it was like a snowball, and I just kept going. I was almost up to a pack a day, which is it's a shame.
The first time I realized it, that I really wanted a cigarette, was that the cigarettes I was smoking weren't giving me what I wanted in a cigarette. So I switched to Camel filters. I was smoking Camel Lights. I switched to Camel filters, and that did the job for a while. And then I wanted more, so I switched to straights.
Eventually, instead of smoking 1, 2, or 3 cigarettes a day, the smoker needs to smoke 1, 2, or 3 packs a day, just to keep from having a nicotine fit.
The nicotine fit. It makes you feel shaky, and makes you get really irritable towards people. You just want to have a cigarette.
When you can't have it, though, I mean, you just like everything in your body just goes right up. Your pulse, everything, all your body actions just like speeding up, and it feels like you need to take a pill to come down from it or something, and you feel like you're going at like 90 miles an hour when you can't have your cigarette.
It's a crazy feeling. It's like, oh, I got to go get a cigarette. I mean, I'll walk a mile to go to a store just to get a cigarette.
Most kids don't want to smoke forever, but before they realize it, they're addicted.
It's like a drug. You have it, you try it, and now you can't get rid of it, and you try so hard that it's just, you can't.
When they try to quit, they discover that the urge for nicotine is too strong to resist, or that going through nicotine withdrawal is just too hard. So they are trapped. The tobacco companies take their money, and the tobacco takes their lives. The models in tobacco ads always pretend to enjoy smoking, but the truth is that 4 out of 5 smokers wish they had never started smoking because of the suffering tobacco causes them.
In the morning, I'll get up, I'll smoke a butt, and that'll last me till probably lunchtime. But in between, right after I have that butt, it feels like my stomach's like ready to fall out. It's like a bad stomach rot, you know? It feels like my stomach's like starting to corrode and stuff like that. It's really gross.
I started coughing. I don't want to say what I was coughing up, but it's gross.
I get up in the morning, I cough up these big, huge chunks of phlegm, and I think it's gross. So that's another reason why I want to quit smoking. But I don't know, the smell doesn't bother me. The taste, a little bit, but not as much as what it does to my throat and my lungs, what I feel like later, after I have the cigarette. So I feel like I'm going to die.
The tobacco companies would like you to believe that you can smoke and do your best at sports. But the truth is that when people smoke, their endurance suffers dramatically.
And there's a lot of things I want to be able to do, like it impairs my skiing, especially in moguls, wears you out quick. And then when you think about it, and I'm taking a drag off a butt, it doesn't taste good. And it slows me down, so I quit.
Many athletes don't realize how much smoking hurts their performance until they quit smoking.
After I quit smoking, I could run better and breathe, and I could run farther.
And as soon as I did stop, I could feel myself breathing much better. I could run so much faster, endurance-wise. It was unbelievable.
Each year, 5,000 innocent people are killed by lung cancers they got from breathing someone else's smoke. People get mad at smokers when they are forced to breathe their smoke.
That's one thing that really gets me mad is when I have to be around smokers, because I don't like it at all, because it makes my eyes water. It just, you know, it makes me cough or whatever. I just hate that. And also I know the smoke and the smoke it gives off, secondhand smoke, I think they call it, is just as bad for the person who's inhaling it, just standing around the smoker. And I just hate, you know, thinking about that, thinking I'm getting his smoke.
When I'm around cigarette smoke, it makes me feel as though I'm having a hard time breathing, and my eyes begin to water, and my head gets a little bit cloudy. And then I start to realize how bad this is for me, and that makes me very angry.
The tobacco companies would like you to believe that smoking will make you more popular. But the truth is that most people don't like to be around smokers.
It really annoys me when we're in a restaurant and people next to me are smoking because I'm trying to eat, and it's real disgusting.
When I meet someone who's very nice and I think I'd like to be friends with them, and then I see them light up a cigarette, I immediately think, oh well, too bad, I'll have to meet someone else.
I don't like the smell of it once it gets in your clothes. People think you smoke, and the kind of people I hang around with, they don't like smokers either.
Yeah, it bothers me. I mean, you don't want to come home smelling like smoke all the time. And it does, and it gets in your clothes, and it's really disgusting.
One of the first things smoking does to your body is to ruin your sense of smell. That's why smokers can't tell what they smell like to other people.
When I'm around people, it smells like they haven't had a shower for a couple of weeks, depending on how bad they smoke.
The tobacco companies would like you to think that smoking makes you more attractive. But the truth is that a lot of people are turned off by smoking.
I'm not attracted to guys who smoke because I generally go for the athletic type. And people who are into sports don't usually like to smoke because it hinders their performance.
When you see kids your own age, you know, the second they get out of school, lighting up a cigarette, you know, sometimes it's like a turn off sometimes.
I think it looks ugly.
Oh, I'm not attracted to a guy that smokes. It's unattractive.
When I see a person who's smoking, like, if they look stupid already without the cigarette, I think they look even stupider. But, you know, I don't think a guy's cute just because he's smoking.
I wouldn't want a cigarette to control my life. A lot of people are addicted to this, and I think you're a loser if you smoke.
The tobacco companies would like you to think that smoking is going to make you more popular with the opposite sex. But the truth is that smoking makes you less popular with the opposite sex.
I did a survey in our local high school, and I asked kids, who would you rather date, somebody who smokes or somebody who doesn't smoke? And 96% of the kids said they would rather date somebody who doesn't smoke.
I wouldn't go out with anybody who smokes because that's gross, and it makes me sick when I'm around smoke.
I wouldn't want to go out with a person that smoked.
because I don't like it.
And when we ask kids who would they rather kiss, 98% of the kids say they would rather kiss somebody who doesn't smoke.
My boyfriend hates it though, because it smells, and when you kiss it tastes bad.
I don't know, just when he kisses me, I guess he didn't like it. He said, oh, I can always taste it for days after when you smoke and it tastes awful.
My boyfriend really complained a lot about how it smelled. It was always in my hair and on my clothes and in my hands, so it really smelled like a cigarette, even hours after you have one.
Like if he kisses me, he says I taste like an ashtray or something like that.
He hates the smell when he's around me, and he doesn't like it if it's on my breath, so I stopped.
Kissing a smoker is a pretty gross thing. It's like kissing an ashtray.
It's like kissing an ashtray!
People don't have to smoke for 20 years before they start to suffer. From the very first cigarette, smokers suffer from bad breath and BO. Soon, they're suffering from stomach rot and coughing up chunks of phlegm. Within a few weeks, their athletic endurance begins to suffer. And when your kisses taste gross, it doesn't do much for your sex life. But there's one more way smokers start to suffer immediately, and that is from having to spend their money on cigarettes.
Before, I used to smoke a pack a day, every day, 7 days a week, and that's when narrowed down to about $1.50, in between $1.30 and $1.50, so that was enough money.
The average smoker spends over $500 a year on cigarettes. But what do they have to show for it? We asked Tanya and Andy to show us what they would buy if they each had an extra $500 to spend on themselves. Andy brought along a friend.
It's not worth paying $1.80 to destroy your health, you know, $1.75 to destroy your health. It's not worth doing.
The saddest thing about smoking is what it does to babies. If a girl smokes when she's pregnant, the baby can die before it's born, or it can be born too early, like this one. Last year, cigarettes killed 50,000 babies before they were born, and cigarettes caused another 4,000 babies to die from being born too early. When cigarettes kill 54,000 babies in 1 year, whose fault is it? Is it the baby's fault? Is it the mother's fault for smoking? What if she's addicted and can't stop?
I know I'm addicted to cigarettes because I've tried to quit and I can't.
When a baby is killed by cigarettes, is it the fault of the stores that sell cigarettes to children even though it is against the law? Do stores help get young girls addicted by supplying them with cigarettes? Or are the tobacco companies to blame for making a lethal addiction like smoking look attractive to young girls? When cigarettes kill 54,000 innocent babies every year, shouldn't the tobacco companies stop selling cigarettes? Instead, they show pregnant women in ads for cigarettes, giving people the idea that it's safe for the baby if they smoke when they're pregnant.
The tobacco companies are liars. They say that it's okay and safe to smoke and that you can be healthy at the same time. They're liars.
The behavior of the tobacco companies is outright evil.
Aware that many people think that they are evil, the tobacco companies made up a set of rules for themselves called the Advertising and Sampling Code. After all, just because it is legal to do something doesn't mean that it's right to do it. The tobacco companies think that it is wrong to associate smoking with strenuous sports. That would give the impression that you can smoke and be a good athlete at the same time. Even though they think it is wrong, the tobacco companies will do just about anything to connect smoking with sports. They even sponsor their own sports contests, such as the Virginia Slims Tennis Championships, the Winston Cup, and the Newport Ski Spree. They make sure their ads appear in all kinds of sports magazines. In fact, Sports Illustrated receives more money for tobacco advertising than any other magazine. The tobacco companies think that it is wrong to advertise cigarettes to people under 21 years old. But that is just what they do when they place ads in movies and magazines that young people like. And isn't it advertising to children when the tobacco companies let candy makers use their brand names on candy cigarettes? The tobacco companies think that it is wrong to give free samples of tobacco to children. And yet people working for the tobacco companies, like the one being filmed here by a hidden camera, have been seen giving free samples of tobacco to children all over the country. The tobacco industry's codes for advertising and sampling suggest that even the tobacco industry knows that what it is doing is wrong.
Now, what do you think of somebody who tries to convince you to kill yourself over a long period of time with an addictive drug by lying to you about it? I think that's evil.
It isn't good for society to have tobacco companies out there trying to get people addicted to a drug that's going to kill them.
I think the tobacco company is wrong for selling the cigarettes because they're selling them knowing that it can hurt people, it could kill people, and I think we should all get together and kind of put the tobacco business out of business.
As a doctor, my job is to keep people healthy, and everything that tobacco companies do makes people sick. If I'm going to do my job, I have to put the tobacco companies out of business.
If enough children become victims of nicotine addiction, they will keep the tobacco pushers in business. But if enough children decide not to smoke, it will eventually put the tobacco pushers out of business. We are slowly winning the war against the tobacco pushers because fewer and fewer children are starting to smoke.
Pittsburgh High cheerleaders do not smoke.
And more people are quitting every year. But before this war is over, many more children will become the victims of nicotine addiction. And those children will someday join the hundreds of thousands of Americans who are killed each year by tobacco. But until they're put out of business, it will be up to each child to protect themselves from the tobacco pushers.